Okay, Tom, first of all, thank you very much for your attention with valgrAI. Okay, and we are going to talk about artificial intelligence. How has artificial intelligence changed our lives?
How has it changed our lives today? I think primarily for me it's through the search engines and Google Maps and automatic translation. So being able to, on this trip I picked up a SIM card in the Netherlands, and I'm getting all these text messages in Dutch, but I can translate them in with my phone and see what they are. So that's very helpful. I think for me, I think that's the number one benefit. But I think also there are more ways that are invisible to us, which are things like, it used to be that whenever I traveled, I would get warnings from my bank that my credit card was somehow strange, because even though I had purchased a plane ticket 6 months ago and made a hotel reservation 2 months ago, it was still surprised when I arrived in Valencia and tried to buy, I don't know, a beer. But now the AI is looking at the transaction history and understanding that that's a normal pattern, and so I don't get any alarms now from my bank.
But the key is because it's invisible for us.
Often AI is invisible to us, I think. Right? We and maybe that's the best thing. I think we want the technology to make us more effective, freer, healthier, and we don't want to spend all of our time interacting with the technology. That would be a waste of our time. Right?
Technology is a friend for us or an enemy?
Well, or maybe it's just part of the infrastructure. I mean, I think it can be both a friend and an enemy, obviously, because it can affect our power relationships. I mean, if I'm interacting with a vendor and they somehow know how much money is in my bank account and they adjust the price of my beer to charge me more because I can spend more, then is that fair or not? I think we would think that might be price discrimination.
Friend or enemy is depend on the use of technology.
Yes, well, right, and who is making the decisions, who benefits, and who is not benefited, and how those power relationships change. On the other hand, for me, I can walk into a store and at the same time do a web search and say, okay, they're offering me this shirt for 20 euros. I can go online and see all the other people who are offering it, and maybe I negotiate a price and say, well, look, I could order this online for 18 euros. Will you sell it to me for 19 or something? So I have more information now. So maybe sometimes it gives me an information advantage, but also maybe a disadvantage. So
Okay, probably I asked you about the change of our
how
lives.
our lives
Okay?
have changed.
And
yes.
how do you think it will continue change your life, my life, their life, the AI?
There are so many ways. I think
Like one.
Earlier this year, DeepMind announced this system called AlphaFold, which can predict the structure of proteins. This will have revolutionary impact on the design of drugs.
This is the revolution, Tom, the main revolution, AlphaFold nowadays.
Well, I would say in this last year,
Yeah.
it's probably one of the most important things, because it allows us now to understand how viruses are attacking us, how drugs could stop that, how to design better drugs. Also, just understanding the basic biology of how, structure was recently published showing how molecules enter and leave the nucleus of the cell, and this was enabled by having tools like AlphaFold. So we will have artificial intelligence enabling scientific and medical advances that will be of tremendous benefit to us, I think.
Okay, I want to ask you also about the limits of machine learning. What are these limits, Tom?
Well, machine learning by itself requires data and also requires a way of measuring success. And so there are many aspects of our lives for which we don't have data available, or we want to keep that data private. So we don't want to share it with companies or governments. And so, and there are other aspects where there's not a very good way of measuring the effectiveness of something. So if you wanted to, I don't know, measure whether a song would make you happy, which is what musicians might want to measure, it's very hard, I think, to measure that. It's extremely dependent on context, on my history and personality, and so in a problem where you don't have data, or where you have data but you don't have a clear definition of precisely what it means to have the right answer, machine learning isn't going to help you there. You need to bring other. I mean, if you're an artist, you need to think deeply about people and humanity. And of course, computers are not people; they're not human, so they have no basis for that kind of thing.
This is computers are not human.
Yes,
this is the most important thing.
Human, yes.
Yeah.
And humans are not computers.
Yeah.
And I think we often tend to focus on just the computer when we're thinking about artificial intelligence, but we really should think about how the computer systems and the software, how that integrates with society and with life. And sometimes it's hard to anticipate those things. For example, with traffic driving directions, if there's a traffic slowdown in one area and then the traffic apps all tell everyone to go on the same little small street, it creates a traffic catastrophe someplace else. So understanding it seemed, I'm sure the designers thought this is the right thing for one driver in one car, but when it's scaled up to 10,000 drivers, it doesn't work.
This is a problem.
So, yes, these are the kinds of problems we have.
Okay.
And so we need, I guess my point was, we need to think about the combination of people and computers. We want to make that combination safer, more effective, more sustainable, all of these things. It's not just the computer, but also how we make people more effective. So we want to give people super tools that make their lives better, not that replace them. But how do we make a better society and a better life?
Computers won't replace humans.
Well, if they replaced humans, then how would that improve humans' lives? I don't understand how that would improve my life to be replaced. Now, there are some things I would like the computer to do. Taking out the trash to la basura, maybe that would be something I wouldn't mind being replaced by. But there are very few things like that, I think.
So, do you think that is science fiction thinking about artificial intelligent devices surpassing human intelligence?
Well, in science fiction, there are sort of only two stories, two storylines. One is the story of Pinocchio, who is made of wood but wants to become a real boy. And this is the same as the story of Commander Data in Star Trek. It's really a way of exploring what it means to be human, right? And the other one is the Terminator, which is or really the Sorcerer's Apprentice, the system that we create for one purpose, but it goes out of control somehow and threatens us instead. That one is the more problematic one. The first one, there's no reason why a computer wants to become a person. I mean, it doesn't have wants and needs like people do. But the second one, I think, if you look, for instance, at 2001: A Space Odyssey, is an extremely realistic scenario, because the software engineers program the computer to put number one priority on the mission, and then an unanticipated situation arises where to save the mission, the computer is going to kill the people, and that's this problem we call the alignment problem, that the values and goals of the software system were not the same as the values and goals of the people, and we want those to be the same. And you also have to ask, well, which people? Is it the commanders on Earth, or is it the astronauts in the spaceship, or is it? I mean, if we think about different sectors of society, is it the rich captains of industry? Is it people like you and me? So that is the one I think we want to worry about. Yeah. And whenever we give computers power over us, like in a self-driving car or an automated weapon system or something, we're creating a great risk, and we have to be very careful.
I want to talk also about the history of the artificial intelligence. Yes. You have talked about AlphaFold. This is a milestone of the recent history. But if you have to choose another milestone in this history, which one, Tom?
I guess I would choose the language translation. So
why?
Neural network language translation and now real-time speech-to-speech translation. This was a dream for so long, that we would have the babblefish in our ear that would translate any language to any other language. Now last week or the week before, the Facebook Meta lab released a system that can translate between 200 different languages, all combinations. This is fantastic.
It is
It's
fantastic.
a chance of allowing people to communicate with everyone without having to learn all of the languages of the world. I mean, if you start with English and Spanish, you're already doing pretty well, but and if you can add Mandarin, you're doing very well. But with this, you could speak to many, many people.
I agree, yeah. To conclude, I want to talk also about the future, okay?
Right.
Which is the main challenge for this field, for the research in artificial intelligence, Tom?
Well, I think our biggest challenge is that we still think of our software systems as having very narrow tasks. So we have a system for translation, we have a system for driving directions, we have a system for, I don't know, breast cancer diagnosis, each of these separate things. And they have a very narrow understanding of their world. They don't understand the larger context. They don't understand the sort of social intelligence. A bit like my example where all the cars go down one small street. That was a kind of failure of social intelligence of the system. So how do we give systems more of the big picture view so that they can anticipate problems that might be created? I mean, we struggle with that ourselves. We have whole fields of social science, economics and sociology and so on that try to understand that. So I think that remains our biggest challenge. We can build these narrow systems, and if we have a extremely well-defined measure of correctness, we can optimize for that and build a system that is very good at that one thing. But it will often have bad side effects because it doesn't understand the broader context. Okay. It's almost like you can become too good at one narrow little thing. There was once an example I heard, when you design these towers to hold the electric lines, you need to design them both to take the weight of the wires, but also to handle wind blowing on them. And there was a group that designed the optimal tower, but they ignored the wind. And so it was perfect it was optimal in some sense for using the minimum amount of material to handle the desired weight. But it turned out to be, because they forgot that one additional requirement, it became totally useless in practice. So a lot of our AI systems are a bit like that. We've optimized one thing and forgot about something else because it was something else about people and society.
Okay, finally, to achieve this objective and other objectives, another challenge, valgrAI is important for to achieve this challenge, or to, I don't know, what is the contribution of valgrAI to this field of artificial intelligence in educational contribution, research contribution?
Well, I think one of the ways to achieve this goal of building systems that do what we want them to do is what's known as participatory design. Getting together all of the different stakeholders that are going to be involved, not just the company deploying the software, but the users, the broader society, because the more people we have involved in the design process, the more we can identify those things we forgot, like the horizontal wind, and avoid mistakes like that. So an effort like valgrAI, which brings together the very excellent research in the universities with the startup companies and the ecosystem there, and also with the general public and the government, is really the only way to achieve these kinds of systems that will be successful and avoid the problems. So.
Okay, so Tom Dietterich, thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
De nada, es un placer.
Thank you very much. Okay.